Hello, we are Stop the Oven, which means Stop the Incinerator. We're a group of concerned citizens who are fighting the construction of a waste incinerator in Kampenhout, which is a town in the region of Flanders in Belgium. A permit has now been demanded for the construction of the incinerator, and this means that the battle is really heating up and we can use all the help we can get, not only from our friends in Flanders, but also from our foreign friends. So it seemed like a good idea to give a short overview of why we actually are opposed to this project and why we protest. When the project was presented to us over 3.5 years ago, in March 2008, the company wants to build the incinerator, which goes by the name of Recover Energy, which is a brilliant marketing name, told us that they were going to build some sort of magical incinerator that would take our trash and would transform it into green energy. This is a slide of their presentation. Unfortunately, it is in Flemish. Also, that PDF created with PDF Factory Pro trial version at the bottom. Yeah, that was actually in their slides. It's only one of the many examples of their stellar level of professionalism. We were quite shocked by that announcement, and we didn't really know a lot about waste incineration and what they wanted to do. So we decided to get smart and we started looking into the matter. So waste incineration, what we do is you take a bunch of trash. In this incinerator, they would use 150,000 tons of trash per year. That's 150 million kg. And you put it in a big incinerator. And what comes out is a lot of ash. In this case, it would be about 50,000 tons of ash. Ash that comes in all varieties, often is very toxic and needs to be landfilled. Some of it can be reused though. A little bit of energy, especially because for this incinerator they don't want to use any direct steam as a form of heat. They just want to use the heat of the incinerator to transform that to electricity, which is not a very efficient way. The amount of energy produced by an incinerator is especially low if you take into account the amount of energy that you put into the incinerator, because when you burn a plastic bag, you're actually just burning crude oil. There's a lot of smoke that comes out of the incinerator, and here's the problem with incinerators. The trash that you put in an incinerator, you cannot make matter disappear. The only thing that you can do is by burning it. You can transform this matter into very, very, very small particles that you then pump into the sky. That's why incineration is also sometimes called landfill in the sky. Now, these very, very small particles, we all breathe them, and they get into our lungs, and they get into our bloodstream, and they start, making themselves at home throughout our bodies, and they can cause all sorts of nasty stuff. When we oppose waste incineration, people often think like, okay, but what do we have to do with all this trash? I mean, it's all good to be against things, but what are we supposed to do? We have to, we have to leave it somewhere. But that line of thinking starts from a wrong assumption, in the sense that it starts with the idea that the trash is here and will always be here, and that we have to come up with a solution. Where the truth is that we have to look at things in a different way. We are currently on this planet, we're largely stuck in a linear consumption of resources, which means that we go and we dig up something out of the earth, or we harvest something, or we use something from this planet, and then we take it to a factory where we make it into a product. We put that product in a shop. People buy it, bring it to their homes, use it, and then when it gets broken, or when it's at the end of its life cycle, we throw it away and it gets burned in incinerators. And this process happens over and over again. We go back, we extract raw materials from the earth, we go back to the factory, it goes back to the shop, people buy it, gets thrown away again, and this goes on and on and on. And the problem is that there's a finite number of resources in this planet, so in the long run, this model is unsustainable. We need to go to a different way of thinking, where we have a sustainable way of managing our resources. That means that when we when we get materials from our planet and we try to make something with it, we should come up with clever ways of making those things. And we should think about what's going to happen with this product at the end of its life cycle so that we can actually reuse those materials, recycle them, and we don't have this problem of trash. This way we don't only solve the problem of our mountains of trash that we now have to burn into our incinerator, but we also make sure that we don't rob the planet blind of the resources that it has, but that we use them in a smart way. Now, people in Flanders, we always have to explain that NIMBY means not in my backyard, but I assume that you English people know about that. So when we oppose this incinerator, many people think that we're against it only because they're building it close to where we live. That would be NIMBY. But the truth is that we're not just opposing this incinerator because we live there. Yeah, sure, the fact that we live there plays a role, but this incinerator isn't needed at all. This is in Flemish, but you can see the graph. On the left is the trash that's available on the Belgian market. And on the left, on the right, is the capacity of waste incinerators in Flanders. In Flanders, because waste management is a regional matter in Belgium. And what you see is that actually the capacity of the waste incinerator in Flanders is higher than the trash that's available. So basically that means that we have more incinerators than we have trash. And these incinerators work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they constantly need trash to feed them. So if we're going to be building even more incinerators, the difference between the trash that's available and the incinerators will only be bigger, which will mean that more trash will go to the incinerators that should actually be recycled or that could be recycled. Because as these incinerators need constant trash to feed them, they sort of suck up all the trash in the market, even trash coming from all over Europe, because the European Union has made the market free and open for trash. Now, if you want to motivate companies and people to start recycling, one way to not do that is to create a surplus of capacity of waste incineration, because that will just undercut all efforts to do recycling. Now, we didn't invent these figures. These are actually figures from an interview with this nice little girl. Her name is Joke Schouwvliegen. That is actually written as joke, but it's Joke. And she's the Minister of Environmental Affairs in Flanders. This article is from June 2011, 1st of June 2011, that's what it says here. So these are recent figures from an interview with the minister, so you can make sure that they've been checked. Not only is there a surplus here, but in the meanwhile the surplus has even become bigger because there was another permit that was granted by Minister Joke Schouwvliegen, which is a real pity. This is in a nutshell why we are opposed to this project. Now let's look at the people who want to build the incinerator. This is a company that's called De Koning, which is actually run by two brothers, Danny and Frankie De Koning. And let's have a look at why they want to build this incinerator. The answer is actually quite straightforward. Waste incineration is big business and there's a ton of money to be made. Actually on the left that says trash, afval is Flemish for trash. On the right it says euros, I guess that's pretty clear. Why is waste incineration such big business? It's because you got a double source of income, because people pay you to get rid of their trash. They bring their trash to your waste incinerator and they pay you to get rid of it. But at the same time, the Belgian government is paying the waste incinerators because they say that the electricity that's generated in waste incinerators is actually green energy. And so they are getting money from the government to create this green energy. Now, basically, they're treating a waste incinerator the same way as they would be treating a windmill or any other source of true green energy. And this sort of double effect means that waste incineration, which is very profitable as it is already, is actually even more profitable. Now, can we trust them? Recover Energy, that beautiful name of a company, is just an empty shell. It's just set up by the brothers De Koning. They have made their fortune in building and construction. They build all sorts of large apartment blocks and these kind of things. And they also have a container service. So if you are, I don't know, building a house and you have trash to get rid of, you call them, they put a container there, you can fill it up, and then they come and they somehow get rid of it. This is another clear example why they're very interested in having their own incinerator, because having their own incinerator would obviously give them quite a competitive advantage over their competitors in the container market. Now, the brothers have made a ton of money from this. They've made, they've really done well for themselves. And I'm not talking fancy cars here. I'm talking fancy helicopters. I mean, they actually have their own private helicopter, and they also live in Monaco, which is a small mini kingdom in France where the rich people go to avoid paying taxes, because taxes is for losers, I guess, or that's what they think. Now, these are not the only things that they're into. They also are in other types of business that make good money. The brothers have, in Antwerp, they own a place which is called Villa Tinto, which is actually a mega brothel, which is an enormous building full of rooms where prostitutes offer their services, and they are the owner of this company, I guess. So it really goes to show that they are really into anything that makes good money, and that they may not be the kind of people that you want to trust with these kind of installations. What you're looking at here, and I assume you don't understand it, but this is actually a letter from the environmental inspection in Flanders, a letter to the Minister of the Environment asking to cancel the environmental permit of the company, because they've noticed that there's been so many intrusions against the law, and they've had to stop by their company so many times that they've actually asked to have their permit cancelled. Now, this is something that does not happen very often. It's very rare for these sort of inspection service to actually go as far as to ask for the cancellation of the permit, but they actually did it for this company, so that goes to show. By the way, they didn't lose their permit, and it's well known that they are pretty well connected and they have very powerful political friends. So we oppose this project because, in the first place, it is not needed. There is already a surplus of waste incinerator capacity in Flanders as it is, and building another one will only undercut the initiatives to prevent recycling and closing the cycle of resources. It also goes against the policy, not only the Flemish policy, but also the policy of the European Union, which strives to minimize waste incineration and to promote recycling and reuse of materials. Burning waste is also burning of our future, because there's only so many resources on our planet, and we cannot afford to keep on burning them and just go out and dig up new ones. And finally, if you look at who benefits from this project, it's really only two people who are going to get filthy rich out of this, while society pays for all the stuff that gets dumped over them through the sky. So we oppose this project, and we can use all the help that we can have. We can use all the help that you can offer. If you want to help us, you can check out our website. It's www.stopdeoven.be. That is stopdoven.be. From there, you'll find a link to a website that's called www.mijnbezwaarschrift.be, which is mijnbezwaarschrift.be. Now, this is an important one, because currently, as they have requested a permit, there's a sort of a public inquiry where people can react to say, we don't want a permit for this project to be handed out. And if you don't want the permit to be handed out, you actually have to react, because how the system works is that the government assumes that if you don't say anything, you're okay with it. Now, here's the catch. Anybody who's an adult can react. You don't have to live in Flanders, and you don't have to live in Belgium. So basically, anybody can react. It doesn't matter where you live, as long as you're an adult, as long as you're over 18. So what you can do, if you want to help us, no matter where you live, you can go to this website. We went through the trouble of translating it in English, and you can create your own notice of objection there. You just have to fill in your name and your address. It will automatically generate the notice for you. You sign in at the bottom. and then somehow you have to get it to us. Now, if you can send it through mail, that's great. If you live in Belgium, you can drop it in at one of our collection points, which you can also find at the website. If not, just send us a good quality scan via email. Send it to info@stopdeoven.be. That's info@stopdoven.be. And that's one more notice of objection, and that brings us one step closer to stopping this project and stopping these people from ruining our future for us. Thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting us.